Mi dice lei quando possiamo iniziare a parlare? Okay, good afternoon to all over the world. Today is a great day. It's a great day because within hospitality management bachelor degree, which is the first professional degree in hospitality management in Italy, and we are very proud of it, we organized a very interesting activity in this course with two eminent professors that are also visiting professors to Federico II University. We give our welcome to Professor Cihan Kobanoglu from University of South Florida. And to Professor Karin Ernard from University of Ravensburg. Their universities are very important partners for us. We are colleagues, and I can tell also friends, because a real friendship was really built over time. And today, the real protagonists, the main actors of these meetings are our students. The second year students within the course of Management and Marketing of Hospitality Firms. They worked on some project works, so they made a wonderful work in teams, analyzing the situation of coronavirus before, during, and after in this period in different countries all over the world. 8 countries were examined. A lot of areas with different characteristics, and the students will have a short presentation of their very analytic project works. I think, what do you think? I'm talking to my colleagues right now. Can we say that we are glad about, what our students are have been working on? I think their projects were good. Some were really excellent. So we are really glad about, the results of this activity that was suggested by Professor Karin Ernand. And I thank her for the very nice idea. Of this project equals to the 30% of the overall evaluation in my own exam. So it's a real part of the exam because our students are working according to what we call the flipped classes. They make a lot of project works because we experiment their ability to interact and to do team building and to work in teams. This is very important because when you are going to enter companies, firms, organizations, you will have to work with other people. You will not always love the other people you are working with, but you have to find new solutions considering that the good for the organization, the good for the firm you're working in, has to be the best for all. So this is very important. And we are working hard in this BA course also in this direction. Now, I would like to call the students. We will start with their presentation, and we will have hosts because one of the groups, and precisely the group that mainly concentrated on the situation in China, had a very creative idea because they made a sort of like a simulation of the news for China. So we will show you a very short part of this video, which is, however, very interesting because it's also the example of how creation can be very important. Creativity is very important in these activities and how our okay, I would like to, I don't know if Xian and Karen, would you like to say something? Xian?
Thank you, Professor Della Corte. It is an honor for me to be associated with University of Naples Federico II, and I already have seen your students in multiple occasions, and I'm really also, just like you, proud of them. I'm very happy to be part of part of this project, and I'm eager to hear from the students and also interchange some ideas with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Karin from Germany.
Yes, Professoressa Valentina Della Corte, buon pomeriggio. Excuse myself for speaking only very little Italian, but I'm really starting to learn it, but it would take too long now for me to explain everything in Italian. So, but just to let you know, students, I've been at the Università Federico II several times, always enjoyed meeting you students and all the colleagues from Valentina Della Corte and her staff. It was always a pleasure, and I was very warmest welcome all of the time. I really enjoy the Napolitanos. It's one of my favorite cities, and I'm not over exaggerating in the whole country of Italy. And well, I'm very happy that Professoressa Valentina Della Corte came up with this idea, including Cihan and myself from Florida and from Germany, from Ravensburg, into this project, which makes it more interesting, I think, even to be from two different continents, and which will make up for all, for everything about not being able to see each other. So I'm looking very much forward to your presentations. And of course, even more for better times when hopefully the COVID situation will be a bit more positive in terms of that we finally are able to travel maybe by the end of next year and to meet each other in person. And thank you very much again, Professoressa, for inviting Cihan and myself.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Before starting, I would like also to present Giovanna De Gaudio, Giuliana Nevola, and Simone Luongo. Giovanna is a researcher at University of Naples, Federico II. Giuliana and Simone are PhD students at the PhD course in management. This is a teamwork. They are always doing a great work. They're working very hard together with me. All the people that work with me always work hard. And so I would like to thank them publicly for the hard job they're doing. And I think that the result of these events is also thanks to their contribution to the organization, to the analysis, and really thank you very much to the three of you. I don't know, I can't see Giovanna and Simone. If you can switch on your cameras so everybody can see you. Simone, are you there? Okay, so this is our team. And so they are always supporting all the activities of the BA course. Great job. Thank you to the three of you for what you're doing. Okay, so now the word to our main actors of the day, our students. Who is starting?
Professor, do you want that we share first the video or?
Sure. No, the presentation and then the video, right? Okay, this is Miriam Romano. She's in the second year, like all the students that are presenting today.
Okay, can you see the video, the screen?
Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Miriam Romano. My group formed by Giorgia D'Esposito, Lorenzo Muzzico, Marianne Esposito, and Sveva Caiazzo work on the COVID-19 situation in China and how the hospitality sector of the state reacted. The first reported cases of COVID-19 occurred in Wuhan at the end of December 2019, but only in January 2020 the emergency declaration was called. From that day, China decided to close all in one night, putting very strict measures by forcing people to stay home and putting drones to control all the situation. On February 5th, Wuhan opened 3 Fangang hospitals, which contained 13,000 beds, so that no one affected had to stay at home with the possibility of infecting other family members. Only after a month were closed because no longer needed. In July, Beijing authorized the emergency use of experimental vaccines and began administering doses till today, which all China counts only around 50 new people a day, which are released to have the disease. The tourism industry in China is one of the most important contributors to the economy of the country. In fact, the revenue from domestic trips in it is the most profitable sum of capital. Most flights from and to China had been deleted so that the virus was not carried out to other countries. It significantly impacted the industry, reducing the sales and revenue of the airlines companies. This scenario has led to a sharp decline in the market value of stocks in the hotel sector, but just because the Chinese population has been the first and hardest hit by the devastating impact of COVID-19. 6 relevant actions have already been taken by the Chinese hoteliers as immediate remedies with regards to the crisis: providing food delivery service from hotels, renewing the service procedure through contactless services, negotiating cancellation policies with hotels, having affordable labor cost-saving measures, communicate with employees, and preparing for the reopening and government authorities policy monitoring. While as eating is an activity that cannot be accomplished while wearing a mask, some restaurants opened their arms wide to delivery options. Some made breakthroughs in new retailing, and some reached deeper cooperative deals with their investors. Mostly all of them adopted technological measurement and digital marketing strategies, as the use of QR codes replacing paper menus. Now, Chinese hotels have the chance to lead to the global sector out of crisis and into a bright new future. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Would you like to show the video? Part of the video that you made?
Yes.
I would suggest to make the questions at the end, okay? At the end of the overall presentation.
Do you hear? Do you hear?
No. We hear you.
We hear you and we see the presentation, PowerPoint.
Now?
Maybe you need to share your screen again because we just see the PowerPoint.
Yeah, you have to change the screen. The audio is okay.
Stop sharing and then share again. Please choose the video screen.
Goes out of the connection of the sharing and then enter again with the new screen.
Now?
Yeah. Now we see the video now. Yep.
Good morning from Hospitality Management News TV. Today we are going to see how China faced up coronavirus and how it turned from the first country of the pandemic outbreak to the first country in the world to overcome this global disease. Now I leave the place to the journalist Miriam Romano.
How China played this game against coronavirus can be understood from the early stages of its spread. The Chinese Super League decided to freeze everything in one night. Subways, trains, ferries, schools, offices, and factories closed from the first day of the Wuhan emergency declaration. The city is the center of the epidemic. The international movement was prohibited throughout the Hubei province. International airports were closed.
Okay, thank you. This is just an idea. Okay, thank you, Miriam. Thank you for the China group. Let's go on. Okay, we can just to make this because it's good. Okay. Second group, second country.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Vincenza, and I'm going to be presenting for my group as the impact of COVID-19 in France. There we go. Can you see?
Yeah.
Perfect. So, France, the third most visited country in the world in 2019, presents the most beautiful and natural attractions. Tourists arrive here from the whole world to visit this majestic country, prevailing United Kingdom, Germany, Belgium, and Luxembourg. So, as we all know, tourism has a positive economic impact on the countries, but does also generate significant environmental impacts. But when the world saw coronavirus, things changed drastically. That's when the 24th of January, first case in France, but also in Europe, led to a confinement period and movements were prohibited during the period of 1703. So that makes it the 17th of March. The cases increased to a level of nearly to no return. So all of European countries shut themselves and closed their borders. Slowly, the numbers started dropping, and the government abolished restrictions to give a chance to the economy to restart. But this became the kickstart for a new wave, and it was rougher than the first time. It demolished all the work and all the sacrifices that were made up to that moment. On the 30th of October, France fell into lockdown again. So the loss in this country is equal to 131.2 million a day, and 918 million per week. Over 2 million jobs were put at risk, but also at the same time, 2.7 million jobs were created, obviously for coronavirus. Tourism managed this year to produce around 205 billion GDP, so gross domestic product, or 8.5% for the economy for the duration of this year. Tourism operators and aircraft companies suffered a significant loss, around 20-25% of loss, and grounding of around 90% of the fleets for the airline companies. French people found themselves forced to renew their focus on domestic traveling, and this resulted as a perfect match with the Merveillous reserves and forests that can be seen around the country. Government decided to not give up and incentivize its workers and set up a recovery package to turn the economy around and make the France of tomorrow. Despite being one of the most affected in Europe, France has never given up, and it will get up even stronger than before its rebirth. This is why the government has set up a recovery fund for 210 million euros and has been granted to tourism and airline companies. The UMIH calls then for the extension of the partial activity scheme for COVID-19 at least until the 31st of March of 2021. Lately, the new infections were dated as for 11,532 and 2.4 contagious and 59,000 deaths in France. There is a common objective that is to reach 5,000 contagion between the year before this year, the ending of the year, and the 20th of January. Despite all of this, France will get up and will even get stronger than before with the France of tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Very good. Thank you. Good. Thank you, Vincenza. Let's go to next country. Thank you very much.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I start sharing the screen. Okay, we did a summary on the COVID-19 situation in the United States. So, as of December 2020, there were more than 30,822,239 confirmed cases and 72,525 COVID-19 related deaths in the US, representing nearly one-fifth of the world's known COVID-19. The impact on various economies where we analyzed, and we saw that the unemployment rate has almost doubled, and the debt held by public has risen from 17.4 to 21 trillions. The impact of tourism, the travel and tourism gross domestic product loss in 2020 is like 1,074 billion US dollars. The World Travel Tourism Council analyzed that international visits to the US are expected to decline at least at 23% this year. And for these people, will lose their job this year as a result of travel declines, including 4.7 million jobs directly in the travel industry. So what did the government? The government has provided certain tourism-dependent segments with targeted support through the Coronavirus Aid, Relief and Economic Security CARES Act. The CARES Act provides federal grants, loans, and tax relief to the passengers airline industry. The Airline Economic Stabilization Program in the CARES Act makes available loans and loan guarantees to ticket agents. The CARES Act also makes accommodation and food service business with 500 or fewer employees per physical location eligible for small business loans that may be used to cover wages and benefits, rent, utilities, and the interest on previously incurred debts. So this is the situation for every department of the hospitality. For the problem for the hotel is that more than 1/3 of the hotels will be forced to close within the next 3 months. Others will be facing bankruptcy or be forced to sell by the end of 2020 due to lack of revenue. The policy adopted, they installed multiple hand washing stations, slot machine banks, and table games will allow for social distancing going forward, and electrostatic sprayers with hospital-grade disinfectant everywhere. For the airlines company, as a result of the pandemic, losses in the first half of the 2020 is not unprecedented. For example, Delta Airlines, the most profitable US airline in recent years, so its revenues plunged 56, and its operating margin came from a healthy 14% to negative 40%. The impact of COVID-19 is the policy adopted for the airlines company, they have slashed cost more than previously to possible in recent months, which has reduced losses. And a lot of US airlines had adopted some cancellation policies. For instance, you can change or cancel your ticket once without any change cancellation fees. The cruises, the impact of the COVID-19 in the US have had a devastating impact on the economy of those depending on cruise activity for their livelihoods. In fact, the cruise is suspended in US water through the end of the year thanks to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. But Royal Caribbean Cruises and Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings, two of the 3 largest cruise companies in the world, have united a group of experts who are combining all the best science and experience to identify a science-based plan for a healthy return to service that ensures the well-being of guests, crew, and communities the lines visit. For the restaurant, nearly 2/3 of US adults have decreased how often they eat out as a result of the COVID-19. The policy adopted is that food supply wholesalers have pivoted to selling essential items to consumers. Restaurants are providing meals for their employees and families and selling chilled ready-made meals, fruits, vegetables, and other provisions such as cleaning products and toilet paper. So, of their solution, how to restart tourism. We thought that the idea was will be to build a resilient tourist sector to foster sustainability and green growth. Why is it's important to prioritize sustainability in rebuilding tourism? Because tourists are becoming more impact conscious. Tourists are looking for experience in nature. Digital solutions are improving sustainability, and long-term progress requires cooperation. Then, so innovation and digital transformation promote cooperation and mitigate socio-economic impacts on livelihoods. Our opinion is that we believe the demand will come back strong because people are anxious to interact again, to travel, to get married, to have a meeting. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Alessia. Very good. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for this really interesting presentation. Let's go ahead. Next country. Okay.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ciro De Marco, and I'm gonna present the Switzerland situation about COVID-19. Okay. So, first of all, we did this general view of the tourism. We analyzed the tourism in Switzerland, and then we did this analysis to compare the data from 2019 and 2020. First of all, we pointed out that there has been a really loss in the flows. In fact, the data from 2019 were about 39.6 million overnight stays, while to 2020 we had 19.1 million overnight stays. So we had a minus 39.4% of loss. Then we analyzed the economic loss. In fact, the 2020 has been defined like a black year for Swiss tourism, and they had to face with an over 10 billion francs loss. But there is like positive point in this black year. In fact, even if there has been a loss in economic aspects and flows, some five-star hotels recorded better results from the previous year in some months. In fact, as you know, for example, in summer, a lot of restrictions have been stopped, so people started to travel again. So this kind of missing for travel has been like a reason to travel more than before. But there are a lot of bad aspects. For example, 19% of there has been a 19% of probability of bankruptcy, and this risk is considered much higher by companies in the catering sector. In fact, we have the 27%, while hotels have a 23% of risk. The first wave of COVID-19 in Switzerland was moderate compared to the rest of Europe. In fact, the data dating back to March were 35,000 cases out of a population of about 8.5 million inhabitants. And we didn't point it out, we didn't found out a complete total breakdown of the tourism related activities. Moreover, the Switzerland has done a great job in taking some measures to face this pandemic. In fact, Switzerland is among the countries that allocated a lot of funds. For example, you can say that the percentage of the GDP of the country is designed to financial measures plans, which is a really high number. In fact, they allocated a total of about 60 billion Swiss francs in different sectors. As regard to the tourism promotions, during summer have been launched a lot of promotions for Swiss inhabitants to boost tourism in Switzerland, in particular the internal tourism, the domestic tourism. So people started to travel again in the country. And we came to the conclusion that Switzerland have helped have done a lot to save the tourism sector. In fact, as I said before, some five-star hotels have even performed better than the previous years in some periods. Moreover, the summer season has been better for Alpine destinations compared to the big cities. In fact, as we know, during the winter, people will go on Alpine destinations, while in Italy we could not. So there has been also a sustainable aspect. In fact, the reduction of harmful transports has produced several advantages for the country, for the environment. Another sector that has suffered a lot is the shopping sector, because Chinese tourists used to go to watch shops, and these activities generated about 19% of the profit of the country. So due to this pandemic, this is not possible. So that's our analysis, and we thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ciro, okay, for giving us the picture of Switzerland. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
Next group.
Good evening. I'm going to share the screen. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Rosa Fortunato, and I'm from the group made of Alas Linda, Di Fuccia Maria, Forte Michele, Garovalo Antonio, and Polito Ilaria. We focused on the COVID situation and post-COVID perspectives in different countries, but in particular on Spain. So, all the countries around the world are now in uncharted territory because of the spread of COVID-19, which has touched every aspect of the society. In particular, in Spain, for the economic situation, the pandemic ended the 6 years of steady growth that followed the recession brought by the 2008 financial crisis, and the economic cost of containing COVID-19 has carried a collapse of the 18.7%, and Spanish economy remains 8.7% below its level 1 year ago. And we can say that this is one of the largest contractions in Europe. COVID-19 also caused a permanent shift in behavior of societies and economic agents, in particular for Spanish consumers which are now highly concerned about health and safety issues, with also significant changes in their behavior. So according to the experts, Spanish economy will recover for the end of 2023. And one critical aspect is mostly the fact that Spanish economy is more dependent of tourism. In mid-March, in fact, the government declared a state of alarm, which limited all non-essential trips to the country. So international visitors fell by 66% until the situation worsened with 0 tourist arrivals. Even if in the summer the state of alarm ended and Spain reopened its borders, the tourism industry has been unable to bounce back. In September, tourist spending therefore didn't even reach 1 billion euros, meaning it dropped of the 90% compared to 2019. This crisis has also damaged air travel. In fact, more travelers prefer to arrive in Spain by road rather than by plane, and Airline Association indicates there was about a 30% drop in flights during June. Among the main measures, during the second phase, Spain adopted the Plan para la Transición hacia una nueva normalidad, which was a plan divided into 4 stages with asymmetrical reopening depending on different areas. For what concerns our critical analysis, we have reported that at the beginning of the pandemic, tests were done almost only to patients in hospitals, but selective tests means that only a little part of the population could do tests. So right now, testing has become truly massive. In addition, Spain medics mainly focused on inter-regions with more cases, so the chance of a positive test result is now significantly increased. There was also a slow government response because of the fact that despite the transmission of COVID-19 has started on February, the government applied lockdown only a month later, and from March 18, the European Union introduced an entry ban for non-citizens. So until that moment, everyone could be freely enter the country and spread the virus. For what concerns the present, From March to the first week of December, there have been about 1.5 million confirmed cases and 46,000 deaths due to COVID-19. Even the biggest hospitals are now overcrowded, and the situation forced the Spanish government on October to decree a new state of alarm, which will be enforced until May 2021. So we can say that it brings us to the second wave, and we can say also that when the national lockdown was lifted in June, some regional authorities were probably too fast for reopening, and local epidemiological control infrastructure was insufficient to limit community transmission. So we can say that if the first wave might have been unpredictable, the second wave in some parts of Spain was quite predictable. And this is our analysis.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for the picture of Spain. Good. Let's go to the following country.
Yes, good morning. Just a moment, I will share you my screen. Do you see?
Yeah, we can see it. Manuel Di Caso.
So, yes, good morning, everybody. I'm Emanuele Enzo Caso, and I represent my group composed by Gaspare Piccolo, Leonardo Carriero, Fabiano Federico, Vincenzo Paolo Genoa. We have analyzed the Italian situation during COVID-19 emergency. As we all know, in the last 10 months, Italy faced two important waves for a total of 1,600,000 cases, 757,000 of them recovered, and sadly, 55,000 of them died. As I said before, Italy faced two contagion waves. The first hit in late January and has been particularly scary for the country since this was a new virus and nobody has prepared for it. The government decided after seeing how fast the virus spread for an hard lockdown in March on the 9th. This has been a very brave decision since Italy has been the first country in Europe to adopt such restrictive measures. After 57 days, on May the 4th, Italy entered phase 2. People still worked and attended classes at home. Stores were still closed, but people were not forced to stay at home. On June 15th, started phase 3. Back to ordinary life. Face mask was mandatory in closed environment and social distancing. The second wave hit after summer holidays, where people were tired to stay at home and wanted to make up for the lost time. On November on the 3rd, the government declared two new restrictive measures. Italy has been divided in three colors, depending on the seriousness of the contagion in the regions: yellow, orange, and red, where red meant lockdown. During the whole period, the government never forced hotels to close their business. Even when with all restriction, they couldn't actually welcome customers. Thanks to Federalberghi's analysis, we can see how dramatic 2020 has been in tourism sector in Italy. In the first trimester, it's been registered a decrease of 35.6% of hotel occupancy. In the second trimester, hotel occupancy decrease has been more than 19%, and in the third, it was just 56%. We can see also the details for Italian and foreign tourists. In first trimester, decreasing occupancy was equal to both categories. In the second and third trimester, there is a difference because since Italy reopened business, people could travel freely within the country, but foreigners had their own restriction in their country. And to promote tourism, the government introduced the holiday bonus, a contribution of up 500 euros for family. In addition to the holiday bonus, government other initiatives to countries decreases are IMU exemption, tourist promotion in Italy, travel agency and tour operating fund, tax exemption for public land occupation, fund our income for tourist tax, tourism fund, etc. Anyway, lockdown had its own positive effect. Nature finally management recover from decades of civilization that pollute the environment. Tourism is a rather pollution sector, but sustainability is a very important quality to research for. So the government should redesign the tourism with greater attention to sustainability. Thanks for your attention. This is the conclusion of our presentation. You have the mic off, Professor. You have the mic off.
Thanks a lot for the picture in Italy, and I'm glad because so our hosts listen to in the main measures that were taken in our country. Very good. So next group.
It's me. It's I'm going to share the screen. Okay. Okay, can you see?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so my group and I decided to focus our analysis on the development and the future perspectives for the tourism industry in the United Kingdom. We started with analyzing the impact that this virus had in the UK, and it had dramatic consequences, more so than for other European countries, also because the death toll surpasses 60,000 victims and is constantly growing. It also generated a collapse of consumer demand, and many businesses were forced to close or significantly reduce operations. Many leading forecasters expect an economic contraction greater than 6%, and that will make it the greater economic contraction since the Great Depression. One of the sectors that has been affected the most by this global pandemic is the tourism and travel industry, especially due to the ban, to the traveling ban that was enforced between and inside the countries. Before the pandemic, tourism in the United Kingdom was one of the fastest growing sectors. It represented about 9% of the total GDP, and with an income of over 28 billion in 2019. Now this sector is suffering, especially London, that was not only one of the most visited cities in the country, but also the third most visited city worldwide. And this year alone, the industry is set to lose 37 billion. Small and medium-sized enterprises are the ones suffering the most, as they don't have the force of big chains to support them, and losing over half of their monthly income. Once this pandemic is over, people will start traveling again, especially since the vaccine trials have already started, the vaccine on people in the UK. However, the tourism industry will be facing a new post-COVID reality. The new normal will be very different to what we are used to, and the businesses will have to undergo important changes in order to stay afloat. Technological innovation has played and is going to play a key role. Major crises like these always bring change, and it's not just a matter of getting the industry started again, but also all the operators of the sector have to understand that to become a global force again, they have to come together, to join, and combine their forces to bring the sector back to its former splendor. One of the main points is restoring travelers' confidence and stimulating demand, as travelers are still afraid, and the government needs to start considering the implication, the long-term implications of this crisis, and plan stronger, more sustainable routes, because we have to remember that the measures we put in place today are going to shape the tourism of tomorrow. So we don't have to see this crisis as dark time, but we have to remember that crisis generates opportunities. So this is an opportunity to rethink tourism for the future. In our work, we interviewed Fabrizio Orlando, that is a tourism operator living in the UK, but the interview was too long. It was almost 12 minutes, so we are going to just say some of the things that he told us. For example, we asked him how this pandemic has influenced people in their travelers, and he told us that it changed the way people approach travel. People are traveling locally and not looking for far destinations. The booking windows are longer than before. People search for areas with low contact, and they have become more conscious of how they spend their money. They are spending more to support local businesses. And the last most important thing that he told us is that people are now agreeing on spending a little more on staying in locations that were not their favorite ones, just because they want to be safe, and that safety is not going anywhere. It's here to stay, and it's going to stick as the main decision-making factor for travelers for the next 2 to 4 years. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Good. So for the situation here in this country.
Okay.
Okay, let's go for, I think it's the last group.
Yes, I'm sharing my screen. Okay, can you see?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we decided to analyze COVID-19 situation in Germany, specifically how tourism is facing COVID-19. So let's start with the coronavirus overview. So the novel coronavirus has spread globally. The disease caused by this virus vary greatly, and in some cases it can become fatal. So the Robert Koch Institute is continuously monitoring the situation, evaluating all available information, estimating the risk for the population in Germany, and providing health professionals with recommendations. Some European legislation proposes some guidelines to limit the spread of COVID-19, such as recommendation in transport. So for indoor places, it is necessary to guarantee a social distance of 2 meters, to wear face masks, and to make regular also to avoid overcrowding. For what concerns refunds, cancelled reservations have been refunded by government to travel companies, and clients that have lost their holiday have received a voucher to recover it whenever they want. So for what concerns how Germany faced COVID-19, let's say that there are restrictions about entering in the country. So only a selected list of countries have access to Germany, as well as business travelers and some other exceptions. Those arriving in Germany will remain subject to quarantine and testing rules upon arrivals. And travelers entering the country from a right area, they have to register online prior to the entry on the website www.Einreiseanmeldung and take with them a proof of this registration. For what concern individual hotel bookings, they are not automatically cancelled by the provider. So in any case, it is necessary to request the cancellation of a rate before the arrival. Also, if the booking can no longer be cancelled for free, it is possible to require a free cancellation from the supplier. It is necessary to send the cancellation request at least 2 days before. So for what concern in general, in Germany, there has been an Infection Protection Act that says the person who left the hospitality industries, people suspected of infection or other carriers of pathogens were prohibited from carrying out their gainful employment to protect against infection and suffered loss of earnings and results can in principle claim compensation in money. But it wasn't provided for the hospitality industry until some few months later when Germany, the government decided to spend 122 billion euros to save the economy. So for what concern hotels, according to a survey conducted in Germany in March 2020, 45% of hotels and hospitality businesses have declared revenues losses between 10,000% to 5,000 euros. International hotel bookings showed a massive 75% decline in March 2020. And also according to the Yoga Media reports, 223,000 companies in Germany lost around 10 billion in sales by the end of April, and 70,000 companies are threatened with bankruptcy. So what could be a next step? For sure, digitization. The hotel and tourism industry has until now itself been a high-touch industry because a great deal revolves around personal service in the hospitality industry. Now that the crisis requires a change towards the low-touch economy in this sector as well. So we should no longer meet, no longer encounter, we should no longer touch each other. So the process of digitization arises the digitization offensive, which permits the use of digital tools and increase of digital competencies in order to get a more tailor-made services, also greater employee satisfaction. It can be added value for partnership-based cooperation, which can make business more competitive in getting partnership. Finally, the digitization results as an improvement in sustainability, which nowadays is more and more important to carry on a company. And it was all for Germany analysis. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the picture in Germany. Okay, I think we almost finished.
Yes, Professor, I also need to share my project.
Yeah, the one.
Just a second. I don't know if I stopped sharing my screen.
Sharing. It's already. You are still sharing.
Okay. I get out. Just a second.
Up the red one.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm trying now to share my screen.
Yeah, very quickly because you were late in delivery.
Yes.
So just a very short time.
I'll try and be quick. Is that okay? Can you see?
Yes.
All right. So me and my group, which is me and Gerardo Montefusco, we made an analysis of the Australian situation during the 2020 COVID pandemic. I know I'm late, so I'll try and be quick. So the sudden coronavirus outbreak has obviously negatively impacted the economy of the whole world, but the Australian government was prepared for it, and thanks to their anti-SWIFT COVID measures, they were able to efficiently contain the spread. The government thought about financing plans. We analyzed 3 of them. The first one, which I find very interesting, is the JobKeeper payment, which is a scheme to support businesses and non-for-profit organizations affected, in fact, by COVID-19, and which is to help keep more Australians in jobs. And this JobKeeper payment is administered by the Australian Taxation Office. Then we have an operation of supporting apprentices and trainees. The Australian government has announced a $2 billion job training skills package to reform the vocational education and training sector and keep apprentices in jobs, which is really important regarding the actual situation. And then we have the supporting the flow of credit. This will enhance these lenders' willingness and ability to provide credit, which will result in SMEs being able to access additional funding to help support them through the upcoming months with a turnover of up to 50 million, which will be eligible to receive these loans. Moving on, just one last thing. We know that for Australia, global recovery will be essential. In fact, it depends on an international aviation network and in particular on HUB aviation services. Gearing up these massive infrastructures at these air travel hubs to service our international travel needs requires much more than a surge in demand for travel to and from Australia. Consequently, a sustainable return to high volume inbound international tourism is dependent on a durable and widespread recovery in international travel. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for Australia. Now, every group will be able to make a question, just one question for each country to the three of us professors. Can you stop sharing?
Yes. Okay.
Up
Do you
the red
still
one.
see?
Up the screen, red one.
Oh, here it is. Okay, sorry.
Okay, so who starts? One question for each group, for each country. You can ask us.
Okay. I'm always Miriam Romano of China. Okay, just one question. Okay. As we know, to continue their business during the pandemic, most of touristic enterprises have made significant internal and external changes. For example, smart working for their own organization. Do you think that some of these changes can be used also in post-pandemic to have a better economic turn?
First of all, I would like to just tell all of the students, what a great job, wonderful. You did not just only present the facts, but you analyzed the information. So for this reason, that I would like to congratulate all of you for a well job done. So this is exactly what we need to do right now to be able to reinvent, innovate the ways that how we can tackle this problem. So as far as your question is concerned, I will turn this to this again, statistics. Maybe you know that in China, during the first week of October, from the first week of October to the 7th of October is what they call National Day. So it is kind of like a spree of the travelers, from Chinese travelers going all around the world in 2019 and before, and also domestic. So now the situation tells us, when we look at, of course, China is one of the first countries that had the coronavirus, but one of the first countries to kind of combat, really handled it well, right? With their strict measures, despite that some maybe privileges being taken from the people, but at the end, the situation, the result is good. No, I looked at the statistics of the National Day for 2020. Last year, 730 million Chinese travelers traveled domestically. This year, that dropped to 640. But what this tells us that what's going to happen in the other countries as they beat the coronavirus. So first of all, it will change the economics, right? The business travel, in my opinion, also in China dropped drastically. When you look at the business travel statistics, all the people who have thought that they have to travel to conduct a business to another place, in my opinion, about 50% of the business travelers travel in the world, not in China, but in the world, will diminish. It will be gone. It will be doing what we are doing right now, the Zoom meetings. So that's the biggest component, in my opinion. In terms of the leisure travel, it is going to come back. It will take probably 2-3 years, but that's also going to create some different economic models. I'll tell you one example. New York is one of the, Beijing is one of the biggest office commercial real estate markets in the world, right? It is very expensive to have, but today what we are seeing, again, when you look at the commercial real estate statistics, that companies are not leasing or releasing their office spaces. They have found out that, look, we don't really have to have office space. So what is going to happen, again, this is a prediction based on the facts that are happening, as I see it, that those office spaces are going to be alternating. That companies are going to tell their employees that you don't have to come to the office 5 days a week. You can come maybe 1 time a week. And then I think that something interesting that never happened before is going to happen, which is hotels are going to go into the office business, meaning that they are going to create this rooms, suites for their business people. As they need someplace to go, they will go there, and then they will be able to handle their events, let's say meetings or whatever. So even though this pandemic has created a lot of crises around the world, in my opinion, as it happened thousands of years, humans are resilient. They are going to find new ways. It's going to come. Just like technology has taken some jobs in the past, in the history, new ones have been created. The new business models will be created as well.
Okay, I think you almost answered everything. So thank you, Chen. Okay, thank you. Second group, another group.
Okay, so talking about smart working, me and my group wanted to ask, with the necessary increased use of robots and technology, also smart working, in the hospitality industry, how would you suggest that we can maintain the human factors for interaction, going the extra mile? Because we do know that that's an important part of the hospitality industry. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a great question as well, too. So the human factor has to stay in there. Hospitality is what we always will do and have to do. But there will be some changes. I explained this in my presentation earlier that I have done about a couple of weeks ago in my university. What I call is CARE model. CARE is square care. So one thing is going to happen is that you are going to have cleanness, the focus on cleanness. You will see this everywhere. So in the old days, hospitality companies used to do cleaning discreetly. Like in the night when there's nobody, they clean all the public areas, the rooms. Now people want to see that that's happening. So everybody bring that to the daylight. That's number one. That's the C, cleanness. The number two is contactlessness. So I even say this, companies, regardless of what it is, hospitality is definitely going to be there. Yeah, so the second one, cleanness and the contactless. So the companies must have provide options to people if they would like to bypass that contact. Doesn't mean that there is no human there. There is still human, but that could be as simple as a QR code for a menu for a restaurant, or opening the door without the thing, maybe with just like a cell phone, whatever that might be, is going to happen. The other thing that I would like to tell you is that for the CARE model, assurance, you have to assure people that whatever that they do is safe and good. And R stands for reinventing the way that we are doing businesses. Whatever is going to help people to increase their confidence level is also going to help. And finally, empathy in putting yourselves in your guest situations and try to act to whatever that they would like to do. At the end of the day, human touch is going to be here. Yes, there will be robots. Yes, there will be chatbots. Yes, there will be artificial intelligence, virtual reality. All of these things are going to come. but yet the human must be in the central part of hospitality, even though it may be invisible.
We are also studying the impact of artificial intelligence in some activities, and the results that are coming out is for some activities we can imagine the increasing of artificial intelligence, but there are some areas, of course, that are strictly experience-based, that in spite of the distance, the social distance, still require a very, very important human touch in the relationship. Okay, some other questions on the other groups?
Yes, I'm Alessia Puglia from the group that talked about the situation, the COVID-19 situation in the US. If you remember our presentation, we said that the sustainability will be important for the tourism. Do you agree with us? Will the tourism really become sustainable after the pandemic, or as soon as the COVID-19 will be forgotten, the world economy and the firms will be again just profit-oriented with an over-exploitation of natural resources?
Is this question to me or to?
Oh, yes, it was for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, in my opinion, the research that I have done in the past told me that the percentage of people that are paying attention, the consumers I'm talking about, on sustainability has been increasing over the years. In the past, I'll give you one example. Several years ago, about 6-7 years ago, one of my students have done a study at the University of Delaware at that time, maybe that was more than 10 years ago, and looked at the hotels, right? When you go into the hotel rooms, there is a occupancy sensor. If there is nobody in the room, when you go out, it cuts the electricity, like heating or cooling, depending upon the season. My student asked the students their perceptions. People said that they don't want to do that because they want to come back to the room either cool or hot. For them, they said, well, I'm paying, so I don't care about sustainability. I would like to get a cool room or hot room, depending upon. But today, I didn't do that study today. We should do it based on the global warming awareness all around the world. That I think that this is becoming more and more important for people. COVID has actually helped us much better than there are more people are coming. So I believe those are your students. So I'm going to admit them. And the companies that are going to focus on sustainability are going to be able to they are going to be able to gain in the long run.
Thank you. Excuse me, Professor, you accepted someone that is not from our course.
Stupidi idioti, coglioni, figli di essere inglesi, non siete
Maybe,
italiani.
yeah, don't need foreign requests, okay?
Ma non si capisce un cazzo.
What's the name?
Alessandro Nine and Giacomo Di Biase.
Yeah.
Okay, we will remove them. It's interesting how they find. And what's the other one?
Filippo Predieri.
Excuse me?
So what we can tell is that, for example, in economic actions, some countries like Switzerland really adopted very interesting measures that were also very quick in their application. And one thing that I really noticed in the comparison between different countries was that some of them, like Switzerland, made plans that took into account the really future and the strategic future for their own countries. So they really converted the pandemic into a great opportunity for the future. And I think that their measures from this point of view are a push to invest also for firms, because if the support from governments, and this is what we also hope in Italy, for the recent, decisions of the government. Because if I try to support firms to make investments in this direction, and firms are really committed in investing into, for example, sustainability actions and plans, really real plans, while in the past they were just talking about this, this is a very important challenge, I think. So the best firms, those that are really facing this situation, can really grow a lot in the close future, we hope.
Okay, thank you very much.
Some other questions from other countries?
Yes, I have a question for all three professors.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, if you had the opportunity to design some specific COVID measures for the tourism industry, would you change the choices made by the governments? So, for example, Italy, Germany, and USA. And if yes, how would you introduce something different?
This is a hard question.
Maybe that question was supposed to, or regarding Germany, right?
Yeah,
In
but
the first
even
instance, yeah. I know it's very important for all of the countries. You did research on, by the way, you haven't heard a compliment from my side. So my compliments to all of you students. You've done really a great research. And I think you went really deeply into the subject, and I'm repeating Prof. Chan, you really, what I also appreciate that you did reflect upon the facts and figures given. So that was an excellent job to all of you students, all of the groups. Yes, I mean, it's very difficult to evaluate governmental decisions without regarding the context where all the politicians and the political decisions are being made. So it's a rather complex decision, because if you compare Asian countries, for example, I don't mean overall Asian countries, because of course Australia and China are very different countries, and they're both considered as being Asian. And if you compare, let's say, Italy from Germany, they're both European countries, but with their governmental decision-making processes, they're quite different. So it's a rather tricky question to answer, to be honest. So what I'm trying to do is maybe I'm pointing out some of the aspects, particularly regarding Germany. So in Germany, we have, you know, as the same as in the very many European countries, hospitality and tourism industry is mainly made out of very many small and medium-sized businesses, except for the so-called big players, where you'd find more in the United States, for example. So these companies were trying very hard, you know, to obey what was you know, made you know, or required for them in order to keep the restrictions regarding health measurements and security measurements and so forth. And they put a big effort on this, and I think most of them did quite a good job. But then what happened in Germany, we have these political influences, particularly those of what are called the Querdenker. And you may have seen that in the internet, these Querdenkers, these are just people rioting against, let's say, wearing masks and so forth. So they're really fighting for political, you know, restrictions, and not seeing what is done by politics in order to prevent people from dying. So this is a huge contradiction in Germany. And within this contradiction, Now politicians have to make decisions for several industries, but of course the hospitality and tourism sector. So a lot of small and medium companies, smaller restaurants, smaller hotels were really a bit, well, almost shocked. They put so much investment in taking care of all of these restrictions, and then they still had to shut down. So yeah, whereas of course the larger companies, the major players, the international operating hotel chains and so forth, they were more able, you know, to have back money, so to face these restrictions. So I think overall, being a politician, because that's what you really ask for, I don't think, I think I would have done something as Italy has done, to sort of compromise, to let the smaller restaurants being open, let's say until 6 o'clock, what you're doing now in your yellow zones, you know, and then maybe close the restaurants for the nighttime, particularly to prevent partying. I think this is also what happened in Germany, for example, that people just went on partying at nighttime, particularly throughout the summer. And this has been prevented really well in Italy through just allowing the restaurants to stay open until 6. So I think a more diversified plan would have been okay. Also, regarding some hotels, I think particularly what was positive is to limit the number of guests accordingly. So I think that has worked well. On the other hand, in Germany, I mean, on the other hand, there are tourist hotspots, and this was an issue in Germany. So these tourist hotspots, for example, I'm from Ravensburg, the city of Ravensburg, where my university is located, is at Lake Constance. And Lake Constance in the southern part of Germany, which borders Austria and Switzerland, is a really tourist hotspot. And it was so crowded over the summer. So, and particularly all the Swiss people, all the Swiss tourists came into Germany in that region because it's much cheaper than spending your time in Switzerland. So this region was overcrowded. So I would have, if I would have been a politician, I'd say I would have restricted and brought up limitations to those regions. Maybe not as strict as Australia. The Australians were extremely strict, which is very hard for some European countries to accept. I mean, for the people to accept, but they did it. And Australian people, they just think differently. So they accepted these restrictions also because the punishments were much harder than those in Europe, because in Europe, the punishments seems to be quite loose. No one is actually controlling. That's another problem. I think another group will have that question ready for us. So that's another problem. So overall, I think the restrictions regarding the amount of people being allowed to visit certain tourist hotspots were way too many. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like to add something, because we have to take into account, first of all, that such a pandemic was not lived before. So there was some kind of, not clear ideas during the involvement of the pandemic, because in summertime, there was a sort of optimism all over the countries. And that's why there were a lot of people, destinations were crowded and this kind of stuff. Now, the point is that I think there is a big challenge in front of us because we all know that the vaccine is going on, especially in some countries, US, right, Chian, and also in UK, as you know. We hope it's starting quite early in Italy and I think also Germany. But there is a strong need for coordination of the measures between countries because we don't really know how long this is going to take. And coordination and also shared measures could really help continue living, you know, even if it's not really over. There was the flight from New York to Rome, the first COVID tested flight that was a success. The people were checked before leaving when they came here. If you go to the hotels, especially in certain level hotels, you can see that you can really, travel being safe. So I think that apart from the evolving of the pandemic, of the vaccines, of this stuff, it's very important. It's the time to start, really interacting between countries, starting thinking how we can coordinate the situations. And important and strict rules are necessary because if we have strict rules that we have to attend, this is very important because people may continue to live without continuing to having lockdowns, and this is very bad for the economy. This is my personal opinion anyway.
I just want to add to that. I agree with you 100%. I think 2021 will be the year of V plus, vaccine plus, still the mask, social distancing, washing your hands. We are doing a study at the M3 Center at the University of South Florida about consumer confidence on American travelers. We looked at that coronavirus numbers in America is skyrocketing, but the confidence were going actually up. So what we have seen that normally that should be other way, right? When the coronavirus is going up, confidence should go down. So the issue is that what people feel as confident. So these airplanes are doing COVID tests. Some countries like China, for example, is tracking people with an app if they are actually have the vaccine or if they are clear, if they have test or they've got the antibodies. I think things like this is going to be helpful. Some countries regarding to politicians are going to require you to show that you are free to travel, prove that. And those are going to increase the confidence in people as well. And I think that I don't expect 2021 to be a full recovery year. It will be a transition year where we are going to build the confidence. 2022, I think, is going to come there.
Okay, now time is over for us because it took quite a long time, this meeting, but I think it was really interesting. And I think it's we had an overall picture of what's happening in the world. I do thank our guests that were also for being with us so long. I do thank our students because they were very good, I can tell. And so I think we are all glad about the situation. And I leave you with a big hope to go back to our beloved tourism as soon as possible in the best situation for all of us, for all the countries, to start traveling and knowing each other more and more in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shall we do one group picture, Professor?
Thank you. Yes, let's do a picture.
Everybody please smile. Have your best hospitality smile on your face. I'm gonna count to 1, 2, 3 and then take a screenshot, okay? Everybody come, yeah, perfect. 1, 2, 3, smile at the camera. Wonderful, I got it. I'll post it on the, I'll send it to Professor Della Corte and Giovanna.
Thank you. We will also send you the link of the video. I asked to reset some parts that were not really in line with the meeting, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much again. Really, it was a pleasure. Bye bye. All the best to you.
Thank you,
Bye
professors.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye.
Bye bye.
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 Bye.